Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, the DA wants to take legal action against Parliament's failure to secure venues after the January fire. The party says the lack of venues has had dire consequences for the institution's work. The DA also claims authorities haven't done enough to investigate the fire and hold those responsible to account. The party's chief whip, Siviwe Gwarube, joins us now virtually to give us more details about their application. Thank you very much, Ms. Gwarube, for your time here on ENCA. Now, firstly, of course, we saw the announcement that the DA is taking these steps yesterday against Parliament and the NCOP, right? And, of course, one of the reasons that you give is that Parliament is supposed to also be for the public. So even though those who are MPs are able to participate virtually, it's about the fact that the public is unable to be part of the discussion.
Good afternoon and good afternoon to your viewers. Yes, I think there's a terrible misconception in South Africa that Parliament and the work that it does is for politicians and the people who work there. But the reality is that the 400 members of Parliament who are there have been elected and they've been sent there by members of the public. And we're of the view that 10 months after the fire, considering that there has been no internal investigation, there's only been a commitment to rebuild from National Treasury with a 2 billion rand budget which has been set aside for the project of rebuilding. The presiding officers of Parliament have seemingly let the idea go that we've got to find a semi-permanent home for Parliament. And while Parliament is not just bricks and mortar, the reality is that a big chunk of the work that we do is related to how we're able to engage the public, who are very key stakeholders. And at the moment, there's very much a limited way in which the public can engage with the work of Parliament.
And of course, the other reason, if I'm not mistaken, was that, they haven't been able to find an alternative building for people to be able to congregate right now in Parliament, right? But wouldn't you say that if they found another building, it would be more money because they'd have to pay rent and all that sort of stuff to be able to use that building?
Look, I mean, we have been very much engaged with Parliament in the past 10 months about, what are the options that they have, what would it cost. And we were obviously very pleased to see that 180 million rand has been set aside by National Treasury for Parliament to essentially find a way to do its business for the next 4 years. Because you'll remember that Public Works has indicated that it would take about 4 years to rebuild the institution. And so, yes, while it may be costly, the reality is that the Constitution and the rules of Parliament make it the responsibility of the Speaker to find a sustainable way in which to facilitate public participation. And so we're not being petulant about this and saying, regardless of whatever, you must find the money. We've been engaged in the process and we've said, find an alternative, find a public-private partnership. There are creative ways in which you can make sure that the work of Parliament continues. But you see, the reality here is that there seemingly is a reluctance for Parliament to really be a strong institution. And this is our big fight, that this is not just about the vanity of having MPs in the House and attending in person. This is about the work that we do and the quality of the impact that we have. And if we don't have Parliament functioning, I don't believe that we can truly say as members of Parliament that we are really serving South Africans as we ought to. And so this is an important thing. And 180 million rand, in my view, with some creative and reaching across the aisle to public partnerships, they can really find a way in which how do we make sure that we not only provide a space for MPs to congregate, but also we engage the public in the work that we do.
So in terms of you approaching the court then to make an application against the NCOP and Parliament, what exactly do you want the court to rule on? Do you want them to prove you right that Parliament hasn't done enough?
No, you see, and I think it's a very critical question because I got a question yesterday about, whether or not we're not asking the judiciary to meddle in the business of Parliament. And the simple answer is this. The Constitution in sections, I think 52 and 79, if I'm not mistaken, make it very clear that Parliament's role is, it's, and they state the various functions of the two different houses, but it makes it quite clear that the work of the institution has to be done in a way that is public, in a way that engages the public, because of course, South Africans are the key stakeholder of the work that happens in Parliament. So we're not simply saying to the courts, tell Parliament how to conduct its business. We are saying we're of the view here that failure to find alternative venues, failure to engage the public on the work that is being done in Parliament, failure to make Parliament relevant to ordinary South Africans is in fact in contravention of the Constitution, because the work that is meant is to be done there is prescribed by the Constitution, and the public participation element is not a nice to have. It's something that the Constitution says is a right for South Africans. And so that is the nub of our challenge, that 10 months after a tragic fire that no one could foresee, but you've had 10 months to find ways and means to work around the situation, and you've not done so, and there doesn't seem to be a plan to do so. And so we are of the view that if this is how Parliament intends to conducting its business for the next 5 years, then we are going to be in contravention of the Constitution for the next 5 years. That means then we might as well close our doors and all meet on Zoom, because then we are simply just annexing South Africans out of the work that we're meant to do, which really defeats the purpose.